Welcome to the Critical Thinking Strategy for Unit 4. The strategy for this unit is distinguishing between similar words. As you become a more advanced English user, you will hear words that are very similar. Understanding the small differences in meaning between two similar words and being able to guess why a speaker might choose one word instead of another is an important part of developing strong listening skills. For instance, the word confident and sure have similar meanings. I am confident means I'm feeling certain that something will happen in the way that I want or expect. I am sure means I don't have any doubt that I am right about something. These words are very close in meaning, right? But proficient English listeners know that confident is a little stronger than sure. So if you hear someone saying she is confident, you might be able to guess that she's almost 100% certain something will happen. Choosing between similar words is also an important skill for speakers. Sometimes similar words have connotations that make them sound more positive or negative than their synonyms. It can be a problem for a speaker if he or she uses a negative word instead of a positive one, or vice versa. For example, the words thin and skinny have very similar meanings. They're both used to describe someone who doesn't have a lot of extra fat on his or her body. However, skinny has a negative meaning to it. It's often used to communicate a sense of ugliness or unpleasantness. It's almost never used as a compliment, so you might want to be careful how you use it. What does distinguish mean? To distinguish between things means you can recognize the difference between them. English has many words that are similar. We might even call them synonyms, but there are really small differences between them, like how formal they are or whether they have a negative or positive feeling. Distinguishing between similar words is an important skill to work on as you become a more proficient listener and speaker. The bad news is that distinguishing between similar words is a difficult skill that can take a long time to develop. But don't give up. The good news is that as a high intermediate learner of English, you are well on your way by now because you already know many words. When you hear an important word in a conversation, try to think if you know any synonyms or similar words. If you do, try to think about their meanings. Ask yourself, what's the difference between the word the speaker used and the synonyms I know? Also, ask yourself if there might have been a message in the choice the speaker made. Here's an example of a listener distinguishing between similar words. The listener hears, "The scientists observed the experiment." She notices that the word observe and considers a synonym watch. She thinks about the difference between the words observe and watch. She thinks that observe feels formal and watch feels more like an everyday word. So she guesses that the speaker is trying to sound formal and academic in the statement. When you want to use a particular word in your speech, try to think about any synonyms or similar words that you know. Ask yourself, does the word I want to use really communicate the message I want to send? Think about the meanings that the similar words have. Is there any one that has a more appropriate tone or feeling? If you can think of a better word, use it. Here's an example of a speaker distinguishing between similar words. Imagine a speaker wanted to describe someone's behavior as being similar to that of a young child, in a way that is innocent and trusting. He might think of the adjective childish, but a similar word to childish is childlike. So he would ask himself, which word communicates my meaning more closely? Since childish has a negative meaning and the speaker wants to communicate a positive meaning, he would probably choose to use the word childlike. Now it's your turn to see if you can distinguish between similar words. A scientist is commenting on the research of another scientist. He says, "She is really brilliant." A synonym to brilliant is bright. Look at the definitions of the words. What message is the scientist communicating by using the word brilliant? You might correctly guess that the speaker is being complimentary and respectful. If he had used the word bright, it might have sounded like he was saying the other researcher was young and inexperienced. Let's try another one. Imagine a scientist wanted to talk about some research he did on people who were 90 to 100 years old. Would he want to use the words old or the word elderly? Read the definitions of both words. Which word should he use? The correct answer is elderly. It's the more polite way to speak, which is more academic. Let's recap today's lesson. We learned that we need to think of synonyms when we listen and speak. We should consider their meanings as well as the connotations or feelings of each word to make sure that we both understand the speaker's message and are communicating the message we want. Distinguishing between similar words will help us become more efficient listeners and speakers. Thank you for listening.